Republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice and to attend the meetings of the public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of the Act, the Fort Lee Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published on January 11th, 2024, and posted on the district website at www.flboe.com. In addition, the board's designated online media outlet, newspapers, the Record, and the Star Ledger, filed with the clerk of the Borough of Fort Lee. It said notice. Please be advised this meeting is being online at a future date. The Open Public Meeting Act allows for remote participation at board meetings or by means of communication equipment, which is attended by or open to all of the meetings of a public body held with the intent to discuss or act as a unit upon the specific public business of that body. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Byers-Kang is not here. Mrs. Colback.
Here.
Mrs. Curry.
Here.
Mr. Knight. Okay. Mrs. Coquet.
Here.
Mr. Lopez.
Here.
Ms. Morrell.
Here.
Mr. Rubino is not here. Mrs. Richter.
Here. The board will be convening to executive session to discuss legal, personnel, and other confidential matters. The board will reconvene into public session at approximately 7:30 p.m. I have a motion to go into executive session.
Motion.
Motion Morrell, second Curry, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of the Act, the Fort Lee Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published on January 11th, 2024, and posted on the district website at www.flboe.com, published in the board's designated online media outlet, newspaper, the Record, and the Star Ledger, filed with the clerk of the Borough of Fort Lee, and mailed to all persons, if any, who have requested said notice. Please be advised this meeting is being recorded and may be broadcasted on local TV and online at a future date. The Open Public Meeting Act allows for remote participation at board meetings and defines meeting as any gathering, whether corporeal or by means of communication equipment, which is attended by or open to all members of the public body present to discuss or act as a unit.
Just give us 1 second, Dina.
Okay, sorry.
No worries. Okay, thanks.
Ms. Colback?
Here.
Ms. Curry? Here.
One more second, Dina.
Yeah, Jason, the audio is going in and out. You recognize that?
Yep. Yeah, I'm gonna have just Frankie reset the cable. He's working on it right now.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, all set.
Mr. Knight?
Here.
Mrs. Cote,
Here.
Mr. Lopez,
Here.
Ms. Morel,
Here.
Mr. Rubino,
Here.
Mrs. Richter.
Here. The board convened executive session at 6:30 PM today to discuss legal, personnel, and other confidential matters. Dr. Kravitz, will you begin by sharing the superintendent's report?
Good evening, everyone, and thank you all for joining us. We are happy to announce this week is Teacher Appreciation Week, so we recognize all our teachers for the great job they are doing on the daily. I'm sorry?
Nurses Appreciation.
Nurses Appreciation Week as well, and this is also the beginning of AAPI Month as well as Haitian Heritage Month. I'm also pleased to share the Fort Lee High School Academy of Finance reached the National Academy of Finance's Catherine Blasek Distinguished Level in delivering high-quality educational experiences for Fort Lee High School AOF high school students. NAF's annual assessment measures an academy's strengths and challenges in implementing NAF's results-driven design that prepares students for success in college and careers. This is not the first time Fort Lee High School has achieved this highest honor. 210 academies in the NAF network have reached Catherine Blasek Distinguished Level, with 187 of these academies having reached this level more than once, and 23 being new to the roster. And now we ask our two high school students, both sophomores, to talk about what's happening in high school, Taylor Tsoulis and Bella Plau.
Tessa Lee was one of 2 out of 158 students to be given the Metric Award at this year's Terra North Jersey STEM Fair for her research project titled Access to Pharmacies Based on Median Household Income of New Jersey Towns. Tessa has presented at numerous Board of Education meetings over the past 2 years.
The Fortress class has officially moved into their Tom Hunter building.
Students from Chinese March 4th class showcased their cultural project at Seton Hall University on Saturday, April 13th, earning a remarkable 3rd place in the state contest of Chinese Cultural Research Projects. With nearly 40 projects from various high schools across New Jersey, it was a competitive contest. This marked the first time our district and students participated, making their achievement even more remarkable.
The Peer Outreach Service team visited the 4th graders at schools 1, 2, and 3. The post students presented workshops about using social media safely and showing respect for ourselves and others. The 4th graders were excited to act out scenarios and share their experiences.
3 singers from Fort Lee High School's Honors Choir successfully auditioned for All-State Choir and will be performing with this elite choir selected from the best singers in grades 9 to 12. Congratulations, Alexa Marie Oval, Taejun Kang, and Lois Kwok.
On April 11th, the SATs were administered to the 11th graders in school.
Each year, NAF evaluates and certifies academies through a rigorous process, all to ensure the highest level of support to students. This year, a remarkable 210 NAF academies have reached the highest level, named the Catherine Blasek level. Fort Lee High School's Academy of Finance was one of them.
Our student Muna Blake in 12th grade has been selected as one of the finalists for the Stigma-Free Sticker Contest. There are over 160 entries from over 30 towns. These stickers are created by students throughout Bergen County from middle school and high school levels.
We are proud to announce that many of our students have won the Scholastic Art and Writing Awards this year. It is the longest running and one of the most prestigious regional and national art competitions celebrating the creativity of U.S. middle and high school students. Here are our winners. Inso Kang with 1 honorable mention, Ju-On Sun with 5 silver keys and 1 honorable mention, Heron Yi with 3 gold keys, Rebecca Park with 1 gold key and 1 honorable mention, Chaemin Yao with 1 honorable mention and 1 silver key, Raina Kang with 1 gold key and 1 honorable mention, and Kiana Falcon with 1 gold key, 1 silver key, and 2 honorable mentions.
On Saturday, the first Police First Fort Lee High School faculty softball game took place. Fun was had by all who attended, and the police won a very competitive game, 13 to 12.
On May 2nd, Guidance with help from Student Council held a career fair.
On May 10th, the Fort Lee Police will host a number of students for their 3rd annual Teen Awareness Day.
Congratulations to Coach Kraujik and our baseball team for qualifying for the prestigious Bergen County Tournament for the first time in our school's history.
On our agenda this evening is the budget for the 24-25 school year. I want to thank Ms. Messery for all of her hard work in putting together a solid budget, working with the Finance Committee, as well as other various committees of the board. We have a new accounting set of software in place that she has worked tirelessly to implement, which will help the district moving forward as we continue to try to become more efficient and look at real-time data to support our decisions. Ms. Messery, would you like to share the budget information?
So in order to prepare the budget, we did several meetings. We met with principals, supervisors, directors. We reviewed all the programs, the staffing needs, the capital requests. We also met with the finance committee, and then we shared that with the rest of the board. The tentative budget was submitted to the county office by March 20th, and now we're approving our final budget. As you can see from our revenue sources, the bulk of the budget is supported by local tax levy. The balance of the budget is being supported by fund balance. There's some state aid, extraordinary aid, and some miscellaneous revenue. We also have a capital reserve withdrawal, which is going to be for the renovation of the high school shop vocational program. As you can see over the years, the state aid is slowly trending upward. It's still not, I guess, supporting the budget at the same rate that we really need it. When we look at the budget expenses, if you look at just the contractual salary increases, that's 3.2%. That 3.2% is eaten up fully by the tax levy, and we have other costs that we have to take into consideration. Health benefits. Health benefits is projected to go up 12% for regular health benefits, and the prescription is anticipated to go up 25% next year. This gives you the breakdown, and you can see the bulk of our money is spent on regular and special education programs. Employee benefits makes up the other big chunk. Another large area is transportation. The transportation costs have really increased exponentially the last couple of years, and they just keep increasing. You can just see the comparison from last year to this year of how much we've increased in our regular programming. Out-of-district placements, those tuition costs have also increased. Taking care of our buildings and grounds, we're trying to start to do some improvements because there are some infrastructure items that we need to address. As I mentioned before, transportation is increasing, and the same thing with health benefits. The most important part is what's the annual tax impact on the taxpayer. So on that average house that's assessed at $479, your property taxes are going to increase $165.06 per year. And as I mentioned before, we're doing the high school shop and HVAC program.
That's it, Mr. President Richter. That's all we have for this evening. Thank you.
Okay, do we have any committee reports?
Hi, good evening. The Building and Grounds Committee met on Thursday, April 25th to discuss what Ms. Messery just talked about, the HVAC for the middle school. So it's on the agenda tonight for the bid, and also the money to be transferred. It came in a little bit over. We talked about the scoreboard signs for the baseball and softball, the possibility of that happening. And the district is going to look into how that we can get power to be able to have those looked into, see if we can get them. And also I did want to correct one thing. I think at the last meeting, I think it was myself or somewhere, someone said something that we don't have bleachers anywhere. There actually are bleachers. They were there on for the police and teacher day. So there are some bleachers floating around. It's just, I guess they got moved. So I wanted to correct something that wasn't correct. I don't like to give misinformation. Thank you.
Any other committee reports? Okay, do we have board members with questions or comments on tonight's agenda or other topics?
I have a couple of, I was letting everyone else go. On the budget that we just saw, are there any changes from the preliminary budget that we approved and sent to the county?
No, the only change is that the town had the actual 2024 tax levy increase. So when I did the preliminary one, I think it said like 133, but they hadn't finalized their 2024 budget. So when the town got back to me, the tax rate actually increased. So that's why it went to 165. but all the other expenses are exactly the same. That was-
Okay, and you had a slide at the beginning that showed a 2.23% increase. That was one of your first slides. And then later you had the tax impact is 3.11%. If the increase is 2.23%, how do we do that since we have a 2%? Are we using waivers or something? Because otherwise, wouldn't we have to go to the taxpayers for anything over 2%?
You don't have to go to the taxpayer when you're using we had a bank cap. So bank caps, you don't have to go to the taxpayers for, and we're also using a health benefit waiver.
Okay, initially, I think when you did the preliminary, we were not using any waivers, but now we are using a waiver?
No, in the preliminary, that was also there, that didn't change.
Okay, I don't recall we were using a waiver, but that's how we're getting around the 2% cap, is
Yes.
using, okay. So I want to congratulate 3B, Kim Curry. She is actually receiving 2 awards tomorrow night at the Bergen County School Boards Association meeting. I know the agenda lists something, I don't know, 3-tier, or I forget the exact verbiage, but she is getting a certified board member award and also a new board member award. So she'll be up there on the podium twice. So kudos to Kim for doing all of her professional development. And then I have a question on 4B, our calendar.
Yes.
I know we've gone through a number of iterations. I have what I think was sent to us today, and I just have some questions on the legend. So yellow says school closed, and blue says district and school closed. So do I understand when I'm looking at anything that is yellow, that the teachers come in on those days?
So school closed, meaning it's the school calendar for teachers and contractual employees. The district closed means that the district itself is closed for all of the employees, meaning myself and non-affiliated staff members, administratively as well. There's a difference. So if you hear that in contractual language, calendar. Okay.
Yeah. No, I'm still a little confused. Yellow, like, I guess blue means no one comes in, but yellow means certain employees come in?
Correct.
And yellow means central office is open?
Yes.
So central office doesn't get like the April break?
That's correct.
Okay, now, so,
That's when they can use their vacation days. We can use our vacation days at any time during the night.
okay. I'm trying to figure out, so election day, election day is green. So the district is open, but students won't be in school on election day? Is that how that's working?
That's correct.
Okay. And the last on what's proposed for 4B tonight, the last day of school is the 19th and students start on the 5th.
That is correct.
Okay. And then February, just tell me what's happening on that Monday and Tuesday?
So Monday, the district is closed, meaning everyone, all staff are closed.
Okay.
Tuesday, central office is open, and I believe flag is closed, whatever their contractual obligations. But I can speak for district office. On the yellow, we are there.
Okay, and the last one is a blue, which was, the legend says district and school closed for March 30th, which is a Sunday, which I didn't understand.
So we're, just as I mentioned at one of the meetings, we are recognizing El Adid on March 30th. Eid al-Fitr, I apologize for the poor pronunciation. We are recognizing that on our calendar. We mentioned that at one of our last meetings, that we are starting to recognize all of the events that we can. And on that particular day, we wanted some recognition.
And so is the district doing anything special to recognize that holiday on that day?
That I do not know yet. We'll, as we look to plan things for the upcoming school year, we'll be discussing that with the administration, but at least we wanted to recognize it on our calendar so everyone is aware of that holiday.
Okay, and then last, I brought it up probably the last 2, maybe 3 meetings. We've been urged almost, that's a charitable way to describe it, to get committee meeting minutes in. I went on the website again today before the meeting to check on committee minutes. The ones I submitted are non-existent on there, and I'm interested to know if the RFP committee has met, because its minutes for the February 13th meeting said certain things were supposed to happen by April 28th in order to issue certain notices to vendors for the district, and that date is come and gone. So did the committee decide that we were not going to change vendors, or is there going to be a presentation as to any kind of analysis on what came in for the RFPs? That would be for food services, legal, and banking.
The food services, the RFP committee is gonna meet on Wednesday to discuss the food services, because that one had come in later, that, the RFPs weren't due, I believe, until April 23rd. And so the RFP committee hasn't even met yet on food services. That's the one that they have to approve at the May 20th meeting, because it has to be approved and down to the state by May 31st. And a decision hasn't been made, and I don't know if Holly wants to address legal or banking.
The decision hasn't been made yet for legal or for banking. In fact, we're going to be coming up with dates at that RFP meeting for the RFP meeting to make the decisions for legal and banking. So, yeah, we haven't had the meeting yet.
So, okay, so the committee hasn't met to look at any of the RFP materials, I guess.
I'm sorry, excuse me, say that one more time, I didn't hear you.
So the committee hasn't met to review any of the RFP materials.
We met, we reviewed that.
So I'd like a committee report on that.
There was a committee report that was submitted.
I'm sorry, did I hear there was a committee report submitted?
Yeah.
Okay, the committee report is not on the website for all board members to view. The only committee report that is on the website is the February 13th, 2024. So I would appreciate it if since the minutes are not there for those of us who would like to know what's happening, maybe you could give us a report as to legal and banking. And when the recommendation comes to the board for food services, I would ask that the video that was submitted as part of the RFP for Pomptonian be played for the board and the public. And our RFP had several pages where we set forth how we were going to rank each of the vendors. And I think that those should be made available to us.
Well, I'm sorry, what video are you talking about? Because I wasn't made aware of any video that we're going to be seeing. So do you know something I don't know?
Well, I had asked, and this, I think it's positive. You asked a question, let me answer it. We had the entire packages for each of the RFPs for those 3 vendors, legal, banking, and food services, made available to all board members. Pomptonian, as part of their RFP package, has what I think is a very nice video that summarizes how they are out in front of a lot of issues. And I would ask, you're looking like you've never seen it, then go to the link that Dina sent to all of us. And there is a video from Pomptonian, and I'm asking that video be made available the night that you make any type of recommendation. It's short, sweet, to the point, and I think summarizes a lot of the things that we've noticed in improvements with Pomptonian. I know you're looking like, what video am I talking about? but they submitted a video as part of their RFP. I looked at it. I went through every page. I didn't ask to have things put on the website just for my help.
Well,
And
then you're ahead of the game because I'm looking at other people that have seen that video, so good for you.
okay, well, I would commend everyone to, before they vote, to take a look at all the packages. And Pontonian had what I thought was a video that gets you into like the interesting and effective things that we should be thinking about as a district when we come to food service.
Agreed. I just want to make a statement. I also, just like Ms. Colbathan, want to congratulate Ms. Curry on her 2 awards. It really is a big step on your way to certified board leader. I also want to congratulate, because there wasn't one at the last meeting, congratulations to President Richter on becoming a master board member, which entails not only doing all the PD work, but you have to.
Hold on one second, Holly. We lost you for a second. I'm sorry.
When that happens, is it just us that are remote, Jason, or?
Yeah, all the remote.
Okay, thanks.
Frankie, would you mind double checking that cable again? I think we got a short somewhere, a bad cable.
Got 2 things real quick. So first of all, I'd like to thank Central Office for digitizing those RFP materials so quickly.
Casey,
can
they're
you
trying
guys hear
to
me?
fix the sound.
Okay.
They're trying to fix the sound. Hold on
All
one
right,
second.
let me know when you guys are good.
Okay, sorry about that.
Jason, you're on.
Okay, so
Nope, Frank.
I don't understand.
Frankie, would you check the other end that goes into the laptop? Okay, thank you. Sorry about that.
Right, Mr. Knight, Ms. Morel was in the middle of finishing
No,
one
it's fine.
sentence before they asked you to pause, so if you could just hold on, let her finish her thought, and then we'll get to you.
So real fast, I just want to commend both our fellow board members on their big achievements. It really is, it really shows that they've gone above and beyond to do all the professional development and to get to know what it is to be a board member. So congratulations to both ladies.
All right, Mr. Knight, you're up.
Yeah, so I just wanted to thank Central Office. Last meeting we asked for the RFP materials to be digitized, and it seemed like that was going to be a really tough thing to achieve, but it got done in like a day or 2. So I just wanted to thank you guys so much for doing that. It makes our life so much easier when we can review those materials. And, I'd hate to think that some of us would vote on it without looking at it. So I really appreciate that. And then also there was one item on the agenda that I just wanted to mention something about. And it was, let me just pull it up. It was, let me find out the number on it. It was the Columbia University study. Let me just pull it back up here. It's towards the end. Give me just one second. Let me pull it up here. So sorry. Here we go. So it is, here we go. So it is item, I think 13. Give me a chance to pull it up here. It is 13. Here we go. 13F. Oh, no. Is it B? P, 13P. So I just wanted, I was looking at that, and I actually opened up the document that talks about the scope of the research a little bit. And I just think I'm going to vote no on it. And I wanted to share that with you folks for a couple different reasons. I think I don't like the idea of our children being used as guinea pigs if there's not any actual gain from it. And it actually says in the document that the researchers provided to us that there would be no actual gain other than the children having an opportunity to do the puzzles. So I just kind of have a problem with that. And I think someone else's kids could be used as guinea pigs, not ours. That's my feeling on that. So I will be voting no on that one. And that's it.
Any other board members with comments or questions?
I just want to make a comment on some of the one of the resignations for sure. The nurse from school number 1, Andrea Egoff. I saw her resignation. Also, Charles Salome, resignation. These are two very influential people in the district who serve the district very well and were very beloved, so I wish them the best with whatever their new endeavors are, and as well as the other 2 people as well that I'm not familiar with, but I'm sure they were fantastic as well.
Just a couple of questions. Dana, I know you might have mentioned in the past, can you share with us what are some of the items that would qualify for waivers in our budget? You mentioned healthcare is one of them.
Healthcare is one of the waivers. There's also enrollment growth. So if you had an extra large enrollment growth, that would be a waiver. If you have money in bank cap is considered a waiver that you don't have to go to the public for approval for. I think those are the major ones. Other ones you may have to actually go out for voter approval, but anything with healthcare or an enrollment adjustment.
And what is a bank cap?
Bank cap is that if you didn't use all of your tax levy increase from the year before, let's just say they put in there the waiver that you're allowed to increase your budget for a health benefit, and then for whatever reason last year you didn't decide to use all of that you could have used, you're allowed to keep it in a bank cap, and you get 3 years that it carries forward for, and then you can use it in a future year if necessary.
So it's
Within those
still
3
part
years.
of the local tax levy.
Yeah.
In the item that we're gonna be approving, 8F, why is the local tax levy and the budget item, why is there such a big gap? You mentioned earlier most of our funding come from our tax levy, yet the total base budget is about $17 million difference between budget and local tax levy. What is that?
Right, because then you also have state aid, you have some miscellaneous revenues, you get additional, with your state aid is one set of numbers, and then extraordinary aid comes at a different time, that's another form of state aid, so those are the other revenues that get added into that, in addition to your tax levy.
And then regarding item, the Columbia study, the proposal that was sent or attached to this item talked about the benefit may not be a direct impact to participants, but that the result of the study can help our administrators and our curriculum developers create curriculums that are relevant to our students. Dr. Kravitz, can you talk about from your perspective, what are the benefits?
So, you wanna, sure, Ms. Goyas will talk a little bit, she handles that, but actually that's her lane, that's her department.
Your volume is really low. I don't know if I'm the only one noticing that.
No,
Okay.
it's the same.
I'll
Here.
try. Is this better?
Yeah, that's.
I don't have a problem with projecting my voice. So, you know, we get some of these requests, and the requests have to include certain criteria. And so this request included all the criteria that are required by board policy. So I guess the benefit short term is that our students, these 30 students will be worked with and be given practice in this area. So there could be a benefit in that way. But also research, learning best practices always starts somewhere, and that starts with research. So I guess that would be another benefit in the long run. Also, we have a student teacher in our building that would would participate in this study, would not be directly responsible for this study, but would also participate in assisting with the study. So we also thought that that would be a good opportunity for our student teacher. So we look at this not only as a benefit to our students, but to the future educators that we may employ, that are now student teachers, but we may be able to hire them at some point. And this is always a great professional and experience for them to enhance their practice.
And the IRB, just in general, institutional review board indicates protocols that would never harm any student, any child, so that this is part of their protocol indicating that, this goes back many years when any research study is done. Everyone has to be checked, double checked by the university that's presenting these IRB protocols to make sure that no one will be hurt. Whether it's a qualitative or quantitative study, everything is usually blinded, so that there's no indication of the student. And it's just it's a common practice in IRB studies. We get them a lot. They always go through the assistant superintendent's office. We've been doing it for years.
What type of study is that?
IRB, it's called
IRB?
anytime you're doing a doctorate program or a doctorate, you have the internal review board make sure that there's no harm to anyone. It goes back to actually the Tuskegee Airmen. If you remember when they gave them syphilis and there was no accountability of what was taking place. So many universities, research universities, decided to create these review boards that make sure that there is no harm to anyone, even through medical research. If you're doing a doctorate in that as well, they create these, and that's the accountability piece that everyone is checking to make sure no one is identified, all the data is blinded, there's no indication of who, what, where, any of that information. Usually they review also how you're taking the information, what you're taking from each student as far as information, so there's never that piece that identifies anyone or would hurt anyone.
Just to add on to that, well, this is certainly pending board approval. That's why it's on a board agenda, and the board certainly has the right to vote to grant it or not. This particular study, well, any study requires parent permission. So the students that are identified won't be able to participate unless their parents grant them permission to do so.
And is this taking place in the school?
In the school, yes.
And they will be randomly chosen students?
Actually, I don't know how the students will be selected. That's something that's happening internally. I did speak with Mr. Diaz, the principal of the school building. He notified me that the request was on its way to my office. However, I do know that, no student will be able to participate without parent permission.
So you'll only be in the middle school?
Yes. No, so our study focuses on students in grades 4 through 8. Students will complete 5 graphs, tasks that require them to identify individual data points from graphs and determine mathematical trends, calculate slopes, select the graph that best represents the data depicted in the table, compare information depicted in 2 similar graphs. All the activities are directly related to the NJSLS, New Jersey Student Learning Standards.
How did this student come to our attention with this study?
So this student is working on a project with another student who is a student teacher in our middle school. So they are working together on a project, and I guess this student needed to complete, this other student teacher, who is not a student teacher in our district, needed to complete this project with middle school aged children. And so knowing that her student teacher colleague is student teaching in our middle school, she asked to use our middle school students with the help of the student teacher to assist.
Is it possible to table so that, like, honestly, I saw we were doing something with Columbia, and I dig into certain things and I gloss over others, and I would like to better understand if it happens during school time, the kids that are selected, what are the kids that don't get selected? Do they feel that they're somehow left out of something important? There's just, for me, some questions about the protocol, how it's conducted at the school, supervised by our staff. And I think it would benefit from a little bit more information. So I would ask that it be pulled so we could all learn a little bit more about it.
Well, either administrator could be voted down.
From a procedural protocol standpoint, the recommendation is from the superintendent, Dr. Kravitz. It's purely his prerogative whether to pull it or to proceed with the recommendation. If the recommendation is brought forth, then by all means, a board member can make a motion to table. If that motion is properly seconded and a majority of board members vote to table it, it can be postponed or tabled till their time. If that motion either is not made or does not succeed, the motion can be made to approve it, and if that motion prevails, then the program will go forward.
I guess, can I just say something real quick? I guess,
certainly not, go ahead, Casey.
yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. I just, I guess I kind of have a little bit of a problem with just the resources that are going to be used to make this happen too. We're talking about how scarce teacher time is and resources are, but it's, like, listen, to get 30 people to do one thing takes a lot of people, takes a lot of effort. I know, we all know, we've all done it. So yeah, again, I would support tabling it. Otherwise, I'm going to vote no on it. I just think our resources could be better used for something that will positively impact all of our children, not 30 kids get to do a puzzle that they'll forget about in 2 days. And we've wasted who knows how much money.
Well, I'm not trying to scuttle it. I would like to learn a little bit more about it. I am, having been, I think, well, everyone here has been in college, understands you have to do research and everything. I don't know if Fort Lee is the only school district. Are they looking at 5 school districts? So it's not whatever the data is, something negative, positive with us. I have additional questions. Again, I'm not saying like for all time, I'm a no. I feel like I'm voting on something that I should have focused more on and looked at the actual research project details. So I would just ask that it be tabled so that all board members could make a more informed vote. Now, if it's not going to be pulled by administrative prerogative, I will make a motion if necessary. But I would hope that, Dr. Kravitz, you want everyone to have information that gets them comfortable with what we're doing with our students.
I don't know what the timelines for the research project would be for the student. I'm just concerned that if they are, I support research for children. It's always a benefit. So I don't know if there is a motion, if someone wants to make that as a board.
Well,
I'll make a motion.
I'll second the motion.
Motion to table.
All right, there's a motion on the table to pull item 13, to table item 13P.
Table until the next meeting.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Knight, second by Ms. Collette. Roll call, please.
Questions?
Oh, question.
Yes, I have a question. So this research project is scheduled for next year, Ms. Baker?
No, it would be conducted during this school year.
Oh, this school year?
Correct.
Okay, so for this school year. So, so we have the NJSLA testing going on. We got field day. We got Circle of the Arts.
That's at night, yes. But
Yes,
there are
yeah, they're
rehearsals.
preparing.
There are
Yeah,
rehearsals.
they're preparing.
Yes.
There's everyone's trying to figure out what they're doing for colleges. There's a lot of things going on. So if we were to table it, then that means it's gone, and then it's, if you could explain a little bit.
I don't know. I don't know what the deadline is for this project. This person is a student teacher, 20, 21 years old. They're responsible for their assignments. So I don't know what the deadline for this project is. If there are specific questions that the board would like me to ask of this researcher, I'd be happy to ask those specific questions so that if it does get tabled, I can provide that information either in an update or at the next public board meeting, should there still be time.
I'm happy to submit a list of questions.
And I am as well.
Are there any other questions or comments on this motion that is on the table currently? Okay, go ahead.
Just to confirm, this is recommended by Mr. Diaz and your team, and the duration of the project is 30 minutes. I assume from those two facts that timing is not going to be an issue for the administrators and the staff at the school to have this conducted, correct?
If it would have been an issue, I would have anticipated knowing that, but I could
I
always.
just want to make sure that it's not an issue, okay?
Any other questions?
Yeah, has anyone spoken to the, has any administrator other than Mr. Diaz spoken with the actual person, Evelyn Chow, who's going to be conducting the research?
Madam
Like
Clerk,
Diane is speaking about this, Dr. Kravitz is, have either one of you actually spoken with the researcher who will interact directly with our
Point of order.
students?
I don't think,
Point of
I
order.
don't
Can we
think
take the vote,
interrogating our
please?
administrators at the moment
Okay.
is gonna.
What's that?
and I made
We
a
don't
point
need
of
to
order.
interrogate our administrators. The recommendation came from one of our principals and they pushed it forward. It came, you have a
No,
motion.
no, we're in a
I made
discussion
a
on
point
the
of
motion.
order. I made a point of order. Let's take the vote, please.
Mrs. Byers?
Excuse me, we're discussing the motion right now, and I had a question. I'm
And I made a
interested to
point of
know.
order. And I
Well,
made a
point
point
of
of
order,
order.
point of order doesn't
No,
trump
it
and say I can't ask a question. We are now discussing the motion to table. I have a question whether this is being not recommended by Mr. Diaz. Resolution 13P says upon the recommendation of the superintendent. That's what the resolution I'm voting on tonight says. I would like to know, and Diane is talking about the research and importance. I think we all recognize that. We just have questions about this particular project. Has anyone spoken with Evelyn Chow, the student from Teachers College, who will be interacting directly with our students? And can you vouch for her and her professionalism, demeanor, and the nature of her research?
If I may, I was waiting for you.
I'm asking a question of my administration who has made a recommendation. With all due respect, Lester, it's not for you to jump in. I'm asking a question.
Well, I was asked by the president and vice president to give an opinion on Robert's Rules of
I
Order.
don't want your opinion though, because you're not
You may
making a
not want it, but the president
recommendation.
and vice president asked for it, Paula. And so from that standpoint, a point of order was made. The superintendent, every item on the agenda is a recommendation of the superintendent. He is in essence vouching for everything from his administration and is the sole person that is responsible to you, the Board of Education, for his recommendations. The board president, after entertaining 5+ minutes of debate, discussion, and questions on this issue, has heard from every board member who had a comment, and she called for a roll call. That is procedurally proper. Thank you.
Okay, so you are mistaken, because not every resolution on tonight's agenda is recommended by our superintendent. We have board recommendations that appear every meeting. If you look at one
Paula, as
meeting,
you are very well aware, the board sets policy. There are recommendations, some instances that are through committees that are recommended to the board, but legally and ethically pursuant to Title NJSA 18A:12-24.1, you know as well as I know, Mr. Colback, that the superintendent makes recommendations to the board, while committees of the board make recommendations to the colleagues to
no
support
one's
them.
talking about a
Those
committee.
items are coming through the superintendent. There are certain finance issues that are on the agenda through the business administrator, but legally and ethically, they are still technically through the superintendent of schools. The only recommendations the board can vote on without a recommendation from the superintendent or to hire a superintendent, number one, on professional services, as you are well aware, pursuant to Title 18A procurement regulations, as well as a budget, which is done in conjunction with your administration. Thank you.
Well, we have actually 4 on tonight's agenda, Lester, that are outside what you just described. They're called
Do you want the
1B
motion
to
on the
4B.
table voted on or not? Because Dina has been trying to call the roll to take the vote on your motion.
So I'm going to assume the answer to my question is no.
No, we're moving on. You're interrogating the administration in a public session, and that is not appropriate.
I'm
We're
asking a
on the
question
roll
on a
call.
resolution. If they don't want to
Mrs.
say,
Byers?
No.
Mrs. Colback?
yes,
Mrs. Curry?
No.
Mr. Knight? Mr. Knight? I'm sorry, I can't hear.
Sorry,
you.
yes.
Mrs. Cote?
No.
Mr. Lopez?
No.
Ms. Morale?
No.
Mr. Rubino?
No.
Mrs. Richter?
No. May I have a motion to open the floor to the public?
Motion.
Second.
Motion Morel, second Lopez, all in favor, please.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we will hear first from members of the public that are physically located at the cafetorium. Then we will take questions and comments from those participating remotely. Participants are limited to 3 minutes in which to make their statement. Additional time may be granted at the discretion of the presiding officer. For remote participants, please select the raise hand button. District Tech Coordinator, Mr. Ruggiero, will recognize each community member in order of the raised hands by lowering your hand. Please unmute your microphone, and everyone, please state your name and home address for the record and begin your comments. Please limit your comment to 3 minutes. Anyone in public with us tonight have comments? Please step up. State your name and address for the record.
Yeah, Jacobin 326 Bridge Plaza, North Fort Lee. I'm just following up on a issue I've been talking about for the last 2 months. And that is the situation at the high school with Ms. Jurgensen, unfortunately resigning, I believe it was February 1st. And that there has been I believe it's 2 substitute teachers that have been covering that class. And as I've been emailing her guidance caseworker, sorry, Dr. Goldberg, it's caseworker, right? I guess time, right? Okay, and that the situation basically is that since the Ms. Jackson left February 1st, basically the teachers, it's like free time. Okay, I mentioned this a couple of months ago. Basically, so my daughter's one of the students. What they do nothing. They play on the phones. There is substitute teachers getting paid. Okay, basically to babysit, you can hire, a college student, for a lot less than a teacher, a substitute teacher. Now, my understanding is there's been no classwork given to those students. Okay, therefore the students at class are getting it incomplete for the 3rd marking period. As of today, there was classwork assigned in Google Notebook, Google Classroom, I think it's Google Classroom, sorry, I want to be correct, okay? And that the teacher is starting next Monday, okay? That teacher who's starting next Monday is going to be the permanent teacher assigned to take over that class. But in the interim, those students still receive the incomplete. Now, this is a special ed class, okay? All those students in that class have IEPs, okay? Now, for 2 months, they did nothing. More than 2 months. Now there's about 20 school days left of school, give or take. Okay? So now they have to do their regular coursework, plus the stuff that they missed. Doesn't make sense. I'm not a mathematician, but just trying to do the math, how are they going to do it? And then they're going to be, then once they do that work, they're going to be great on that coursework. Now I have a couple of questions. Number one is, what's going to happen if those students struggle and cannot complete that missed coursework? Will they get a failing grade? Because that's not their fault. The only fault is of the administration and the board, not the students. Because there was a teacher sitting in that room but not teaching. My next question is, moving forward, so we can't I want to rehash history, but we can move forward, okay, to fix the problem. So let's say a special, math teacher decides to leave in October or November, okay? Because they got to drop another town for more money. Is there a plan in place that class will be filled for that time frame? And also, I noticed that at Central, there's, I believe, as I can't correct me if I'm wrong, there's 3 supervisors of curriculum and instruction. Okay, I don't understand why during this whole time nobody was writing curriculum and putting the work in Google Classroom, or whatever it's called, sorry, okay, for then the substitute to work with the students on. And also, where is the supervision? And what I mean by that is the administration checking to see what the substitutes are doing. I mean, I don't know, don't these substitute teachers have to be evaluated by somebody? How are they being evaluated? And what is the plan moving forward? And also, Dr. Kravitz, at the last meeting, you said you'd get back to me, okay? You got back to me tonight, for the first time. Ms. Glegg has got to get back to me on more than once. I don't agree, but I gotta give her credit, she did get back to me, I thank her for that. So, I just wanna know, what is the plan to those questions?
Okay, thank you for your comment.
Did you answer? Yeah. Thank you.
So, thank you again for coming out. As I spoke to you before about the supervisor there today. I know your daughter was absent last week, and there was the teacher came in and presented what the plan was with the students, including making sure that all of them would pass and all of the work would be made up. There are English teachers in there. As far as the supervisors, it really depends on, so plan globally for any type of thing like this. If there is a supervisor who's certified in that content area, we would send a supervisor who is certified in that content area to assist. We just have to make sure that they are certified in that content area.
But also,
Let me just finish here.
Okay, sorry.
And then we'll be back and forth. All right. So I just want to be able to answer your questions.
Okay, appreciate it.
It's not supposed to be back and forth. So I answered the question about the failing grade. I know that was 9 days ago that you sent me the emails. The next day, the principal got back to you in response to that. I know today they had a meeting as well, and the supervisor was there to assist, and they contacted you. The original plan did include having certified teachers who would be in the room as well as working with students. There seems to be there was something that went on, and we're trying to research that and get an answer for our own systems in place. The other thing that we usually do when there is a deficiency in classroom, meaning we're missing teachers, is we offer other teachers to work based on stipends. Unfortunately, we were maxed out this year because of the lack of teachers that we had across the board. But our goal is not to have any child fail. And according to the principal, and I spoke with her today multiple times, and I know she did reach out to you.
Yes, she did.
Because it was copied on that email, that there's a plan to make sure that all of the children learn all of the content, and our intent is not to hurt or harm anyone in that process.
Okay, just to clarify, it's been more than 9 days, it's over 2 months. Okay, because I did start,
Okay, sir,
I put the chain of command and start with.
sir, your time has
So
expired,
can I
I'm
sit down,
sorry.
come back up then, another 3 minutes?
3 minutes per person.
I'll go to county.
Anyone else?
Good evening, my name is Ms. Murray. I will not give my address, homeowner for 33 years. I'm here to give a commendation for Mr. Finizio and Ms. Gabrielle Brown. Amazing. They're amazing. They are amazing. They believe in the welfare of the child, they believe in the education for the child, and I don't know if they're lauded enough. There are other teachers as well, but those two I just want to give a commendation. I'm here because I've tried every way conceivable, diplomatically prayed on how to go about this situation. I sat with Mike Rafferty twice. I've met with the person that I'm here to talk about this evening twice, and there's no result. I just heard that they left, but they're still involved. So I'm here because Adam Schrader has been the coach of the high school basketball team. I have recorded every single game, home and away, and he yells like he is out of control. He intimidates and scares the players. He is an embarrassment at other schools for Fort Lee High School. He's a bad representation. And I don't believe that such a person, be it political, was hired to coach these boys. He instills fear in them. He teaches with divide and conquer. If the child comes to the parents, and I'm not the only parent, but I'm the greatest parent, to tell them what they've been through, when they go back to school, there's a repercussion to them. They're going to your parents. Children are supposed to come to their parents. We are their advocates, we're their nurturers, and we birthed our children. If they don't come to us, who else shall they come to? So I was just told, and I'm not going to go into any details, I'd like to speak to Mr. Kravitz and Ms. Glenn, who I reached out to separately. But as he's resigning, he goes to the whole melodrama, making the kids feel guilty because several parents have complained that it's because of our complaints that he's leaving and his health issues. Our children shouldn't be there, shouldn't have to hear that. They go there for education, they go there to get coached, and they go there to learn. So I'm just asking you, would you please vet the next person in position and other teachers better? Because they should not bring their baggage, their ills onto our children. This is a very fragile climate. COVID has really hurt our children academically, emotionally, and socially, and that he was a poor representation, and he was a bad seed in teaching the boys of Fort Lee, and especially my child.
Thank you for your comment. We will actually speak with some people and get some information, and if you don't mind emailing.
Anyone else present in the public?
My name is Brad Raimondo. I live at 2298 Lemoyne Avenue. Coming tonight because I know, I understand that the annual goal setting process for the board is ongoing. I know I, for one, am very glad that that process is going on this year. I think it creates an important level of public accountability for the board to publicly state, these are the goals, these are the things we want to see get done in the district over the coming year, so that parents and others, members of the public, can then assess after the end of the year, how are we doing on that? Because I know that process is ongoing, as a Fort Lee school parent and as a member of the public, I did want to highlight a few things, some of which I've mentioned previously, that I hope will be incorporated into the goals that the board sets for this year. Chief among them is improving the mainstreaming of special education students in the Fort Lee public school system. There was a recent report from the state that showed that Fort Lee was falling behind the most important goal of getting students with IEPs into inclusive classrooms 80% of the time. I noticed in the budget presentation that while our transportation costs continue to go up, the special education budget has barely moved from last year to this year. I hope that's something that can be looked at in the coming year. I am also curious, genuinely curious, about if there are any connections between those rising transportation costs and potential shortfalls in special education. I know anecdotally that there are parents at my son's school who have said to me, I do not plan to keep my child with special needs in Fort Lee past elementary school because I do not believe that they will get the same level of services that they will get if I send them to Tenafly or another district. I think that's an important thing for the district to find ways to work on. Again, I think those rising transportation costs need to be investigated. We need to figure out what are the root causes of that. It's obviously a strain on the district, and I'm sure there are ways to address them. But I think maybe most importantly, we just heard a difficult situation that a parent came here to talk about, and Dr. Kravitz, you indicated that one of the challenges in dealing with that situation is that at some point you max out on staffing levels. I think teacher retention is an important goal for the board to focus on, and I think the essential ingredient to teacher retention is teacher morale. And I would humbly submit that when a Board of Education or members of the Board of Education gain a reputation for consistently undermining or voting down recommendations of the superintendent, for supporting student teachers in our district, for providing professional development to our teachers, that is the kind of environment that harms teacher morale and it makes teacher retention more difficult. So I think there's work that can be done internally on the board on that front. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else remaining in the audience wish to speak tonight? Okay, Mr. Ruggiero, you are up.
Kyle Sanford, you've been promoted to panelist. Please unmute your microphone and feel free to share your video. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes. Kyle Sanford.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Kyle Sanford, 809 Harvard Place, Fort Lee, New Jersey. Okay. I have one question. In the pie chart you guys showed on your 2024, 2024 five budget, I just wanted to know whether the transportation for the kids for school, for sports, the academics I talked about last week, is that in the athletics or is that in with the transportation? That's the only thing I was asking. Is it included and where is it included?
Transportation
is all in the one area in the transportation line. So when you see, I believe the number is like about $4.8 million, that includes the transportation for athletics, regular education students, and special education students.
Okay, but I was told it was under athletics in an email. That it was supposed to be put under athletics. That's why I had to talk to the athletic coach. That's why I wanted to know why is it put in? It's under transportation. It's under transportation. Is it under transportation or is it under athletics? Which one's it under?
Under transportation, that's what I said. The transportation costs go under the transportation section of the budget.
So it doesn't affect the athletics at all then? That's what I'm asking.
There is a line in the transportation area that's for athletics. So if you look at the total transportation cost, the cost for transporting athletics is included in that transportation number.
But does it go under the athletics budget or the transportation budget?
Right,
That's the
it's part of
question.
the transportation. There's
Okay.
different areas in the budget when you break it down, so transportation costs go in the 270 area. So even though we have it separated out by the code for athletics, like we'll know how much is being spent, and actually a lot of our drivers, I do a lot of the athletic trips, it's all in the transportation line.
So it doesn't affect the athletics director's budget then? That's what you're telling me?
It's in the transportation line. The athletic budget, when you look at the 11,402 in that area, that all has to do with the cost of coaching, that's for their uniforms, their supplies, all the entry fees.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. That's all I need to know.
Jason, you're on mute.
I'm sorry. Thank you. Kahe Kesha, you've been promoted to panelist. Please unmute your microphone and feel free to share your video. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes. We're having trouble hearing you, Kahe Kesha.
Oh,
There we go. Now we can hear you.
okay, maybe it was my headphones. Thank you. 484 Main Street, Fort Lee, New Jersey. I wanted to ask, where, I need a question tonight. Where can I get a paper copy of the rules on how the schools and the grounds should be maintained? Also, I need a paper copy on the rules of how the meetings with the public should be handled and who's about to participate on them and other rules in regards to that. The other thing is, where do I get to ask, what level do I have to ask for the evaluations for the children at schools to be more oftenly done? They have one evaluation done probably once a year, and we want them to be more often. Actually, to be fair, it should be every 3 months. So is that at the state level or a federal level? And also, another request is that for our children, we want more field trips throughout the school year so they can get to, you know, chill out some more. I need a question, answer to my questions. Thank you. That's all I had to say. I yield my time to the other parents.
Thank you for your questions. As far as how the board operates, and the board agenda that's posted online indicates whenever we go through our process, the agenda by definition tells you what is taking place. As far as the rules, we follow Robert's Rules of Order. Every year, the board readopts that as our bylaws as well. So that's Robert's Rules of Order and the bylaws. As far as the ground, I don't know if we have
There's, from the state of New Jersey, there's a 7.6 checklist that I could also, if you email me, I can send you a copy of the 7.6 checklist.
As far as evaluations, the state of New Jersey does one per year. We do traditional NJSLA, the New Jersey State Learning Standards assessments. That's given once a year. The district creates our own assessments. We use the STAR assessments 3 times a year in the fall, winter, and spring to understand how students are learning and to see what they're struggling with, and then we adapt our educationals, you know, in the classroom to that. Okay, that was most of the questions. Thank you.
Jay Rivera, you've been promoted to panelist. Please unmute your microphone and feel free to share your video. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes. Jay Rivera. Jay Rivera, you're muted. You have 3 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record. Jay Rivera? All right, Jay Rivera, I'm going to put you back in the attendees. If you still have a question and you could sort out your audio, please raise your hand again. Ariel Mayer, you've been promoted to panelist. Please unmute your microphone and feel free to share your video. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes. Ariel Mayer? You're muted. Ariel, you're muted. Ariel?
Jason, why don't we give her a chance to try again?
Certainly.
Next person.
Julene Stasu, you've been promoted to panelist. Please unmute your microphone and feel free to share your video. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, everyone. It's Julene Stasu in Wood Terrace in Fort Lee. How are you? Thank you, Jason. I just wanted to come on and say a few things. I want to congratulate the varsity boys baseball team under Coach Kraljic for making counties for the first time in Fort Lee history. I'm super proud of them. It's fun to watch, and I'm just looking forward to a bright future for these young men. I also wanted to thank Mr. Salome. My son has him now for English, and when I heard the news that he was leaving, I really didn't want to believe it. My son really loves you, and I really appreciate the level of, support and knowledge you give to Jake and the class. So we're really going to miss you. It's a big loss for Fort Lee, so thank you for everything. I also wanted to say good luck to Mr. Picacci, who's also leaving and was just such an integral part of Jake's life last year in middle school baseball. And finally, I want to say something about Adam Schrager. We truly adore him and think he's amazing. We've been in clinics with him and camps for many, many years since my son was young. And I have nothing but the absolute respect and positive things to say about him. He has overseen teams that my son has played on. My son, goes to him for support. And I just, want to reiterate the fact that there are many parents that do really appreciate Adam Schrager and what he's done for boys basketball here in Fort Lee. And, this is varsity basketball. This is high school sports. So, it's not like, rec. So things do get a little heated at times, but, I just want to say that we're super proud of him, and we're gonna really miss him too, as the basketball coach. So that's about it. I hope everyone has a wonderful evening and a great week. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Leonid, you've been promoted to panelist. Please unmute your microphone and feel free to share your video. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes. Leonid?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, this is not about 57, 56, it's not. So I wanted to sign my daughter to an art school which is located on Main Street once a week. I was wondering if it's possible to make a bus stop on the way back to drop her on the Main Street. I called the transportation, they said no, but it was possible 3 years ago, before COVID, 4 years ago. Would it be possible? That's the question.
No, we can't make special stops. We have, set places where we stop, and we don't do each individual child separately.
Okay, fair enough. But just like if she walks, it's because I was told it's not safe. But if she walks from school, this is a lot less safe than if the bus drops her on Main Street in Des Moines. Just letting you know.
So traditionally, school bus, do you have any other questions? I can answer them all at the same time. So traditionally, school buses go from portal to portal. We are responsible, and if there's a regional area that we would drop off the children, that's how we would do it. Schools traditionally do not drop off kids at businesses, jobs, additional after-school activities outside of our own within the district. Meaning, if there was one, if we centralize an after-school program. But traditionally, schools do not drop off. Our schools do not drop off at specific locations. For a safety issue, for time, or for just efficiency for other students as well. Thank you.
David Liu, you've been promoted to panelist. Please unmute your microphone and feel free to share your video. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes. David Liu, you're muted.
Sorry, yeah, it's just voiceover. Sorry, it takes me a little time. So hi, my name is David Liu, 2160 Center Avenue. Yeah, so still have the same question as last time. I just want to know, just ask the board and the super, can we put the special education as an agenda for the next year's goals? It could be anything it could be nice about special education, because I see that, you guys do, try to make documents digitized. That's cool, right? To try to do a scoreboard for the kids and busing for the athletes. But I don't see anything anywhere about special education. Our kids, about maybe 1 out of 8 are special education kids in Fort Lee. So that's a big percentage, 12, 13% of the kids. So can anybody answer that from the board or the super, why special education is not part of the agenda?
Are there any additional questions, Mr. Liu?
No.
So we do recognize special education. As far as the agenda, so there are components of our agenda that have special education. As far as goals, that's something the board can look at. In other districts, they might set a goal regarding a specific topic, as specific as possible. And that will be discussed at our board goal meeting. If the board votes to create that as a goal, then we will take action from there. I do know that we do look regularly. This is the first year that we've had many, in comparison to other years, CPAC meetings, and we're looking to increase those. We met with the CPAC leadership this morning to create the agenda for next year as well. So, we are increasing our communication, which is one of the things that was mentioned from the CPAC. And if you don't know what CPAC means, it's Special Education Parent Advisory Group. I recommend everyone to come to a meeting. We do it virtually as well as in person. And that's the form for a lot of that information that we take, and it gleans our direction from that group. It's run by parents, and that's our intent. Thank you.
Jay Rivera, you've been promoted to panelist. Please unmute your microphone and feel free to share your video. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes. Jay Rivera. Jay Rivera. I'm sorry, we'll circle back to you again. Ariel Mayer, you've been promoted to panelist. Please unmute your microphone and feel free to share your video. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes. Ariel?
All right,
Mayer.
okay.
seems like it's working now, yes?
Yes,
Or
we can hear you.
at least, I mean, I put the video on, I don't know why that's not working, but thanks everyone for being here this evening. So I was looking at the agenda and the wingman budget was on there. I'm just wondering, my daughter's in it. She was very excited at the beginning of the year. I'm just wondering, like, I'm happy to see it continue, but I'm wondering if anyone like knows like of all the snafus that happened, like the beginning of the year, the kids were told that they were going to start going. She's in 7th grade, that they were going to start doing the program going with the younger kids in January. They didn't start till April. The first day was like very disorganized. They like the schedule was off. Didn't seem as if there was much communication between the middle school and the intermediate school. And I just feel like, you know, these are the kids that we're having go into like, you know, examples for leadership, and the leadership at the schools were a little off. And it was just a disappointment. She came home and was pretty upset. Some of her friends were upset that it just didn't run smoothly. And I understand these things like take a little time, but I don't think that this was the first year that the program was in place. And I'd like to see it move forward. She was excited the second time. It seemed to run more smoothly. I'm just, you know, hoping with the training that's being, like the money that's being put into the training with the teachers and the administrators being the examples to these kids who are supposed to be leaders, if there's going to be some attention put into the program, the structure, and what you guys tell these kids, you know, like you're giving them these expectations, and especially coming out of the pandemic where like, you know, things were like up and down. I want more smoothness with what these kids are being told that they're going to do, you know, especially these kids that are in the wingman program. Like I know kids like my daughter, you know, they want schedule, they want to know. She's like, she even says now she'd like to know more than just the day before to prepare for it, to sort of, you know, and she was excited for it. I want to see her still have excitement and not be let down. So just wondering if there's going to be a little bit of attention put into, you know, the people who are in charge of it and being trained to take care of the program. So that's it. That's what I got.
Good evening, Ms. Mayor. Thank you for your comments. This is the second year that we are rolling out the Wingman Peer Leadership Program. Last year, I happened to go there in person to see it. It seemed to be working well. I'm not sure what took place this year, but I'd be happy to reach out to the middle school administration just to look into what you're talking about in further detail. We would love to continue this. I know we've been potentially talking about moving this up to the high school if we could. So thank you for sharing your comments, and I will certainly be reaching out to the middle school administration tomorrow just to see what took place and if there's anything that we can do in the future to mitigate those disruptions. Thank you.
Mihail, you've been promoted to panelist. Please unmute your microphone and feel free to share your video. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, Michał Komonescu, 254 Tom Hunter Road. So I wanted to say thanks to the teachers and the board members that set up the software game with the Fort Lee Police Department. It was a really nice event and my kids really enjoy it, and it was a nice way to spend time out. So thank you very much for setting up that one. That's it.
Thank you.
Jay Rivera, maybe third time will be the charm. Jay Rivera, you've been promoted to panelist. Please unmute your microphone and feel free to share your video. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes.
I'm so sorry. My
No worries.
apologies. Finally. Okay, so I'm Jay Rivera. I'm 800 Palisade Avenue. Hello to everyone. I know it's getting late. I just have a question about the Columbia study that was brought up in conversation for quite a few number of minutes, but at no point did I hear what the study is about. What is this study about? Or survey, whatever it is? What is the topic? What are they looking to find? What is the study? And how are you informing the parents of the kids that are selected? Are you doing it via email? Are you sending papers to the home? Because as you know, informed consent is key. So I just wanted an answer to those 2 questions, please. Thank you.
Hi. Good evening. So I don't mind reading the purpose of the study too, but just so that you are aware, the attachment is linked to the agenda item so you could read the entire documentation. But the purpose of the study is to collect information on how the topic is representing and interpreting graphical representations and graphical proportional relationships in mathematics. So that is the purpose of the study. As far as parent notification, that's up to the building to decide. I'm not sure if it's going to be via paper or via a Google form or email, but I would assume a paper document is going to go home for parent signature, but I can't speak to that specifically tonight. But if you click on the link to the agenda, you can read the entire description of the study.
There are no more raised hands.
May I have a motion to close the floor to the public? Motion Morel, second Rubino, all in favor? Any opposed or abstentions? Okay, moving on to resolutions. May I have a motion to approve items 1B through 4B?
Motion.
Motion Morel, second Ms. Kotang, roll call please.
Mrs. Byers Kang,
I'm sorry, you'll have to come back to me, my computer is glitching for a second, sorry.
Ms. Colback,
Yes.
Mrs. Curry,
Yes.
Mr. Knight,
Yes.
Mrs. Kotang,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez,
Yes.
Ms. Morel,
Yes.
Mr. Rubino,
Yes.
Mrs. Richter,
Yes.
Mrs. Byers Kang,
Yes.
May I have a motion to approve items 1 CUR and 2 CUR?
Motion. Second.
Motion Morel, second Kotang, roll call please.
Mrs. Byers Kang,
Yes.
Mrs. Colback,
Yes.
Mrs. Curry,
Yes.
Mr. Knight,
Yes.
Mrs. Kotang,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez,
Yes.
Ms. Morel,
Yes.
Mr. Rubino,
Yes.
Mrs. Richter,
Yes. May I have a motion to approve? May I have a motion to approve items 1F through 12F?
Motion.
Motion Curry. And a second? Second Morel, roll call please.
Mrs. Byers Kang,
Yes.
Ms. Colback,
Yes.
Mrs. Curry,
Yes.
Mr. Knight,
Yes.
Mrs. Kotang,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez,
Yes.
Ms. Morel,
Yes.
Mr. Rubino,
Yes.
Mrs. Richter,
Yes. May I have a motion to approve items 1P through 14P?
Motion. Second.
Motion Morel, second Byers King, roll call please.
Mrs. Byers Kang,
Yes.
Ms. Colback,
Yes, 3P with big regrets and no to 13P.
3P is regret and 13P is no, right? Mrs. Curry,
Yes.
Mr. Knight,
Yes on all with the exception of 13P, which is a no without further information.
okay? Mrs. Kotang,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez,
Yes.
Ms. Morel,
Yes.
Mr. Rubino,
Yes.
Mrs. Richter.
Yes. Okay, is there any old business?
Hi, I'm gonna say this is old business because we just voted on it, the calendar. I'm grateful that the calendar that the students can get out on the 19th. And I'm wondering, two things. I'm hoping that next year we can have a couple more half days somewhere sprinkled in, God willing. And then my question is, since this is old business, because we've already done it, is there a number of half days you can have in a year, or half days count as a whole day?
There's no required number of days, as far as half days, since you have to have, you need 4 hours of instruction, you count every day as a school day.
So we could have sprinkled a couple here and there, but it's okay, it's fine, it's old business now.
So the more, obviously, the more time on task we need. If you just think about it, every student has a certain number of absences, teachers have absences. By the time we do the multiplication, it exponentially, it's a lot of time lost. So we want to keep them in school as much as we can. We're limited by a 180-day contract, and the goal is to get them as much contact time with teachers. That is the best learning model as we can.
Okay. And then another thing that's, I think is old, I'll save it to the next meeting, because it may be new business about the special education. I guess it could be old business because it's already developed, we've already had the committees have already been formed, for this year. But, maybe we have a special education meeting, so that's something, a special education, committee, because I see a lot of committees and, I just looked through our committee list to make sure that we didn't have one, and we don't have that, so maybe that's something that we could think about, but I guess that's maybe for next time. Thank you.
Just want to give a quick shout out to the JADA program, for the performance last week. I want to thank Madam Etra for dedicating and creating a feeder program into high school for the young children, and especially for the teachers and the principal who came out. It was your evening time, so as parents, our kids were clapping their hands and delighted that their teachers take interest in what they do. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful Teacher Appreciation Week. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Kovach or Mr. Knight, you have something to say? Somebody unmuted.
I have new business.
I have a follow-up question. Mr. Sanford asked about the transportation and athletic lines in the budget, and he was referring to some type of transportation from our intermediate middle school campus to Van Fleet. He said, I'm following, that's what he came the prior meeting and asked about, and the answer was yes. It's in the transportation line, not the athletic line. So do I understand that you told him affirmatively that we are providing that transportation next year?
No, I thought he just wanted to know where transportation was budgeted. I think at the last meeting, we discussed that we started to get just some pricing on what it would look like if we were going to transport the athletics from the IS and middle school to Van Fleet.
Right, so because he started his question off, I'm following up on what I asked about at the prior meeting, and that's what he asked about. So we have not made it, so next year, is there enough flexibility in our budget, the transportation line, athletics combination, if the price comes in and is affordable to do this?
We have to wait until all of the transportation budgets come in because we have to submit all of those prospective routes to the jointure and to the Northern Valley. Until I have those figures, I can't comment on that at this point in time. So it's still a work in progress.
Okay. Also, I know that we all received an email that Matt Lee is not available on June 3rd. Has any decision been made as to whether we're going to set goals informally as a board, or what are the next steps?
My email said that he was available. He's coming
I'm
June
sorry?
3rd. My email said he's coming June 3rd.
Oh, I understood he wasn't available on June 3rd.
He's
and
not
that
available until June 3rd.
Okay, so we're planning on June 3rd to do a goal setting?
Yes, that is what I said, unless you wanted to do it prior to that. That's what my email said today.
Okay, I misread it. But okay, so I just want to mark my calendar for June 3rd. Thank you.
New business, Mr. Knight?
Yeah, I have new. So last week somebody mentioned something which I think is worth exploring and worth some further conversation. It was about people who are addressing the board having to provide their entire address. And I think we should take a look at that. I know, we've had meetings where people that were definitely from out of town shared and nothing stopped them. So there's nothing to stop someone who isn't a resident from participating. But I think I'd like to see us just confirm that they're a resident would be enough for me. I don't think it's necessary for them to have to give out their entire address. I know that there were specific instances where people had, criminal activity occur at their residences, as a result of some opinions that they shared. And I just think it's, I don't see any real practical reason for us to know their entire address. So that's what I got.
Thank you. We have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion Rubino, second Burrell, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.